This is the Power of OZmosis Podcast, powered by the vidwheel Creator Network. Hi everyone, this is the Power of OZmosis video podcast, powered by vidwheel Creator Network. You might recognize the space that we're in, and obviously it's a pretty cool and unique space. That is, of course, of Hatchets and Hops, 68 Tonawanda Street here in the heart of Black Rock in Buffalo, New York. And of course, I'm joined today by AP, or Andrew, I should say, Piechowicz, who is the owner of Hatchets and Hops and a good friend of mine. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, John.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
The recording button's on, but we've been really dialing in.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to finally get this out here. I mean, this seems like it's been in the works for a long time.
I know.
So
we're here.
Yeah, the timing couldn't be better though, I think.
And that's, we were saying that off air, and here we are on air, quote unquote, of that. Like, there were certain things even that happened here today that, noise outside that would have probably screwed up the podcast. So everything happens for a reason, kind of thing.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So really quick, our audience that is of millions of individuals, followers. As always, I say that for law of attraction. We are here today. This is a how-to guide on how to really empower your team to find that team bond, right? So this is at the macro level. We're going to talk about team bonding. We're going to talk about community. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship, intention, passion. All of those things will be worked in here, but again, with an emphasis on team bonding. And of course, then we'll be highlighting some of the things here at Hatchets and Hops and the exciting, events and things that they are doing for their customers. So let's get an intro from you, AP. Why don't you tell everyone who you are and then parlay that into who Hatchets and Hops is?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Like just that, I'm Andrew Piechowicz, and kind of started something like this almost 5 years ago now. It'll actually be 5 years in September, and really focused on kind of doing something different. And through that journey, what was so fascinating is at one point I realized I'm not in the axe throwing business. I'm in the customer experience business.
That's so good.
And when I started really making that my number one focus, things came alive. And it really put us in a very, hyper-focused way of what we do every single day is for that experience. And it is always about delivering an exceptional experience. I reference back a lot to my team, this idea that we had this review one time, a couple years back. And it was like, the guy said, "Oh, I had a great time." Or I knew I'd have a great time, but I didn't think I'd have that good of a time. And that just resonates with me. And I always keep that in the forefront of my mind. Is it's like, yeah, the novelty of throwing axes, drinking a beer, that's great. On surface, that is a fantastically fun idea. That's enough.
Right.
But it is a novelty, and you get it done once, and that may be it. But you come into a place and they deliver you a level of experience that you've maybe never had before or haven't had in a long time, that sticks. That's something that makes you want to come back. It makes you want to tell everybody that you come in contact with about how awesome of a time you had.
Experience, not exist, right? So
Yeah.
we're here to, that's something I talk about a lot. We're here to experience and not exist. And so by coming here, and I agree, I've been able to experience just the energy that's in here, the innovation, the creativity, and again, the intention of this space. There's a reason for everything, the attention to detail. And so when you're building your team or your team bonding, attention to detail matters, right? Relationships matter. So what you just said there, I mean, that's beautiful. So walk us through, you said it's been 5 years. Obviously we had quite the year last year in 2020. Yes. Here we sit summer 2021. So maybe just some ruminations on where you've been, right? So leading to this moment, where we are and where you want to go. So kind of like past.
Sure. Obviously this past year being such an interesting year, it really kind of taught me a lot of things and kind of reinforced a lot of things that I've currently believed on, is that experience is more important than ever. People are, were locked away for a year, that now they're coming into this world and they're looking for something to kind of remember what normalcy feels like. I was fortunate to, even during part of the shutdown periods, we were able to host a number of groups through here and able to provide them with as normal as a possible experience.
Right.
We're still getting out here. We're still doing something kind of crazy. We're still having beers. Yeah, everyone had to sit, all the rules, but we had a good time.
Of course.
But, utilizing the silver lining of what happened for me, and I think this is why I'm so excited about the future to come, is I had, in a weird way, an opportunity to start over. I took lessons I learned for 4 years and now able to redo it. And I think, as an entrepreneur, it's something that nobody willfully will shut their business down, take all the lessons they learned and reopen it. But I had to do that. I had to do it not because I necessarily wanted to, but I said, that's what I was given out of this.
It was a reset. Almost.
Yeah. We were growing over, those years pretty exponentially, which was feeling great, getting ready to right before the pandemic, getting ready to open up 2 additional locations. And it was kind of crazy, but I don't know if I was doing it correctly. I was learning on the fly, like we all do. We are all just out here figuring it out. And then I had a moment, basically almost like full year, to take time to reset and rebuild, and then coming back with so much more excitement and so much more. It honestly gave me the same level of excitement first opening in the beginning, where it was, kind of right when we first opened, motivationally for opening was that there wasn't much to do. It really was just eating and drinking, and and I don't know.
Status quo.
Yeah, and I personally I don't like to go to a bar and just have a beer. I like to do something. I like to be active. I like to be engaged. I like to actually have a reason to put my phone down, have a reason to connect with the people I'm with.
I just say this, COVID literally put a hyper accelerant, I know, on the intention of which you want to have the experience, right? Run of the mill, before that crazy pandemic happened, it was, go get the beer every Thursday at the one spot after the golf league, whatever it is. Now it's like, man, life is fragile. I got goosebumps talking about this. Life is fragile. We just don't know what's out there that could put us on a pause or a halt again. So now let's live every day meaningfully without getting too kind of like cliche, but it's true. I think that's seen across the world in a sense. So sorry, I just wanted to make sure I added.
No, and absolutely, and that's kind of like I said, it reminds me of that early stages, and now the people are so excited to come out, and I'm so excited to be able to offer them to that, and having a place where they're kind of like able to get back into it again and feel that they're able to just experience with their friends and family and stuff that they maybe didn't have. And now we're able to do it. Sometimes your family and your friends became strangers. It was so hard that you needed that level of bonding in your family. And now we get to, grow beyond that. Now we're looking for, in the workplace or in everything else. I think it's just a weird year.
A weird year, and you summarized it well. And I want to make sure I acknowledge you here on air, because I've derived inspiration from the resilience of which you had and the business to get through it, to weather the storm and to come out of the storm stronger. I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of folks out there or companies that may not even be here today anymore that wish they were able to kind of keep themselves together the way you did. So kudos. What I want to ask, speaking of experience and bonding, these doors behind our camera open. What does it look like to someone who's never been here? When you walk, so someone's coming here for the first time. I know you do reservations and stuff, but pretend like someone that's watching that's never been here. What does that experience look like for them? How does it work? I
mean, you're coming in, you're just, obviously majority of our bookings are done on a pre-registration basis. On our website, you're able to just book an event and plan a group. I mean, obviously with the focus on larger groups, having a little bit of time to plan is usually beneficial anyways. But when you get here and it's like, you just kind of walk in and you see it all happening. There's an intangible feeling that exists here that you can't put words to it, but it just feels so alive. And immediately when you walk in that door, you're part of it, and you're just ready to just get in there, grab a beer, grab an axe, and go at it. And then once all that excitement has calmed down a little bit, and the instructor comes in. We have somebody that's paired with you for the entire time you're here, and they're leading you through an event. It's an experience that they're doing here. It's all the way through teaching you how to throw axes right into a big old tournament, because we all want to live, there's a competitive nature in all of us that we want to have that moment. But even if you're not the best, it's great to do something for the first time or experience something fun, or just even sharing that experience with somebody else. I mean, the funny thing is, more times than not, you bring your family in, your mother will win or something. It is awesome. The most unexpected people win, and I think I love that the most about it.
The underdog, or like the person that just doesn't even have a chance, you think, like on the surface, right? But then through that bonding of team and the experience they have and giving it, and I think there's an element here, audience, that I think we'll start with some of the how-tos or the derivatives of this conversation of, we're all, like you said earlier, AP, we're winging it, right? We're out here, we're learning on the fly. Sure, we can then take that, in real time learning and action it against, what we are doing over the course of time, right? So, you look back, like you said, up until the pandemic, you look back at all the lessons you learned, and now you applied it right going forward. So, the point I'm getting at is, we're all out here together, just figuring it out. Yeah. And there's an insecurity, I think, with some people, and there's a fear with some people that, like, what are people going to think of me? What are they going to say about me if I do this, or I wear this, or I go over here, or I work there, or do this? Like, and so coming here, there's almost that lowering of the, like the veil of just be yourself, just enjoy, have a beer, have whatever, throw some axes, some hatchets. It's just, I literally, you can tell, you can confirm, I got full goosebumps talking about it. So I love to learn more about like the things you see when people are here, like the companies that come in, right? That are building new teams, the bonding of that team is so important in the beginning so that they can be the most effective version of that team that they can be. So I would love to, that's, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's actually, there's a fairly consistent storyline that exists through a lot of groups of people. I see it a lot with, the work groups, they come in, they're sitting down, there's a little bit of uneasiness to it. They don't know what to expect, but they're excited. There's that, like, it's a nervous excitement. We're having our first beers. The talking's kind of minimal. It's small talk and stuff. Then the experience happens and the tournament happens. And then we're talking about each other's throws. They're connecting with each other about what they did and then we're cheering for each other. Then by the end of it, everyone's up on the cage. Everyone's gathered around cheering for you. So right down, nail biting, right down to those last throws. And it's like, and then leaving basically best friends. I mean, there's no better way to build a bond with somebody than a shared experience.
Like a golf tournament, right?
We're
both golfers. It just comes to mind. I want to hit that on the fly. Like golf tournaments, you're with someone 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
Might be the first time you meet them. You're leaving that like you're dialed in.
Yeah. I always think about, some of the deepest bonds I have with friends of mine were, maybe we're acquaintances and we went for a 6-hour hike.
Right.
We suffered a little bit. We struggled a little bit. And by the end of it, we're like, we accomplished this together. So and now we have that. We have that something special. And this has that.
100%.
And there is a nice little moment to be able to, get an axe and take it home with you and brag about everything. I mean, there's.
Go. I forgot to bring my osmosis money. Again, all the intention.
No, the custom axes it's a fun little thing because it is that additional takeaway that speaks very highly to the experience that you had. It's a tangible piece of your memory.
Of course. It's like a photo or a video or a smell, those things exactly, right? That you can recall that is tangible, that will put you right back in that position that you were in when you did win this axe, right? So that, I know you said you have like axes that people win, that they have these teams. That
typically when, we do a lot of, team building events or team bonding events, one of the add-on features of the event is a custom axe. We'll get them, we'll make them, we'll brand them to the businesses, branding on it. And then that winner takes it home and that sits on their desk for bragging rights until they come back next year to do it all over again. And it builds that tradition to it. It builds that thing like, you're the company champion. Yeah. Nobody messes with that person.
Maybe it's a biannual thing too. Maybe they do it, one in the winter, one in the summer. I mean,
depending on your cycle, your business cycle or whatever works best for you. I think you can never really have, you can never not put a focus on the closeness of your team.
Never.
And I think, post-COVID world, it's probably more important than ever.
It really is.
I'm so grateful that it pushed the majority of the businesses out there out of their comfort zone to adopt flexible work arrangements, work from home. I mean, pre-entrepreneur life, I had a desk job, and it was very it was pulling teeth to work from home for a day a week,
right?
And it was just like, but there was, the old companies, they all had the old guard, they had their way of like, no, you can't be productive. You can't, we want you here. And it's like, I'm glad that's like probably one of my, I think the best things that came from this was like, it was forced. You had to learn. You had to say like, hey, you know what? It isn't that bad. People actually work harder because they have that flexibility with themselves. But the challenge with that is without having that face-to-face on a constant basis, you can lose touch of your coworkers.
100%.
That connection you have with them may not be as much as it used to. Maybe you're not talking about the show you watch on the weekend or talking about the Sabres game or the Bills game. Like you're just kind of
even happening really at the
yeah
time.
yeah. So now it's like, what do you do? So as we're building this up and you've onboarded 10 new people and you've maybe even half your team has never even met them face to face. So getting a moment where we bring everyone together under a bonding experience is going to have those stories, those memories, those things that you're going to be able to share. I know for myself, if, the people that I used to rely on in my day at the office was the people that I had a relationship with because I knew they would take care of me.
Yeah.
But if
you
you
were your energy, if you didn't have it maybe,
Yeah.
or you had a bad day, you would talk to a boss, a colleague, whoever in person. It's hard to do it through the screen because
No.
it's like you have to intentionally just say, hey, I had someone come up, can you do this? And then maybe they don't see the text or the email, but if you're in person, you just walk into their office. Hey, you got a second there, whoever. So, you can't put a value or a measurement on just how valuable that lesson is that we learn. And what happens out of the growth zone? I'm sorry, I just gave the answer. What happens out of the comfort zone? What happens out of growth? You got it. Yeah. Right? And it's either you sink or you swim. And you're swimming, but unfortunately, several other businesses around the country, the world, they sink. They can't talk. So,
and you hope that it wasn't from their unwillingness to grow,
to be malleable, to pivot.
Yeah, I think I was definitely for a lot of the businesses that I've interacted with or business owners that I have. This is the most important piece that was highlighted, I think, over the last year was the true entrepreneurship spirit of ability to adapt.
So good.
You have to be agile. You have to pivot. And if you're not able to do that, there wasn't many places for you to go. And you maybe got lucky.
But luck only lasts so long.
Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't.
Luck only lasts so long.
I know
too.
the amount of people I know that have got into making hand sanitizers or getting into surgical supply stuff or different things just to do something.
Pivot with great. Purpose, man.
Was great.
Yeah.
Or focus on content creation or focus on something.
That's so good. And you do it great. This Hatchets and Hops does a great. Again, with the intention of the space, there's a reason for everything. And I think that's another takeaway too from the tough year that we had in 2020 was, take what's useful, discard what's not, right? And uniquely make it your own. That's the Bruce Lee quote I say often. So we've talked then and kind of a little bit of recap as we go through it, right? We talked about the experience that one would have when coming here, the great things that are happening, just the catalyst for growth that happen here. Are there any things that we've maybe forgotten that you wanted to hit on that?
Oh man, we could talk. It's just so exciting to talk about it. So it's there's so much energy. So it's just we could go forever. But, I think the thing that I've just been focusing so much on is just, if you're struggling with your workforce or you're onboarding on new people right now, because I have entirely brand new staff.
I know.
And how do I get my staff to buy in? We threw axes. It seems obvious because it's we're here every day, but we deliberately held a party where everyone came and threw it. We weren't, we always throw after work or here and there, but actually getting everyone together and throwing together made the person that's going to be working next to you care about them now. You got their back because it's through together.
Shared experience, bro.
Yeah. So obviously I firsthand had to do it. So I practice what I preach, but it's I can't, tell people enough that how important this is going to be for you with these new teams, with these, flexible work arrangements. Get people together. Let them do something. Do it together.
That's so good. So good. Got a couple things noodling around in the old cranium here. So obviously we want to finish with obviously where to find you, how to plug in, how to get involved, how to get here, where you are, the locations. I know it's not just Buffalo. We'll hit on that shortly. But you got a pretty cool saying as it relates to branding and the ethos of your business here, Hatchets and Hops, which is, and I'll let you say it.
Do cool shit.
So what is that all about?
You know what? That was something that kind of came up a couple years back, and we kind of started living by that mantra. And it really is an extension of the idea of getting out of your comfort zone. So you're really here, and this is that first moment that you did something new for who knows how long. Remember an old man told me one time, he was like, this is the first time I've done something new in 40 years. And I was like, that's amazing.
Wow.
And
40 years.
Yeah. But I think that, kind of into that experience level, this is supposed to be that catalyst that pushes you to look for adventure, experience, everyday life. You did it. You had a fun weekend on this Saturday. Next Saturday's got to be better. You can't just
level up.
Yeah, you have to. And it's that, and it can have a lot of different meanings. It's a spiritual thing, and in that it's just find adventure. I like to focus a lot on as an entrepreneur and my network of people, it's the makers and the doers of cool shit. Because there's other people having their story, and it's all just pushing people in that direction.
So good. Do cool shit. And actually, I got this over here for a prop. If you can see that, audience, we got some.
You got the shirt
branding
on too.
Yeah, I got the shirt on. I'll stand up. I'll see if you can see it in the lighting here. Can you see it?
There it is.
Let's go. Move the full thing.
Yep.
Dial it in. Yeah, there's a saying I like to say, I think you'll appreciate it, is be passionate, not perfunctory, right? Perfunctory is routine. Perfunctory is pedestrian, right? It's just a normal thing. And that gentleman you mentioned, older gentleman, 40 years. Audience, I mean, I'm glad that man's had a new experience, whoever he was, whoever he is, but don't wait 40 years until you have those new experiences. I think that's a great takeaway. I mean, seriously, like, what are you doing in your life now that maybe isn't intentional or that doesn't need to be there? I think is another great takeaway, is to kind of look within, right? You mentioned this earlier. It's something I had to do myself with osmosis and with what I'm doing in the community, is I had to look inward. How you win is from within. Mm-hmm. So when you look inside and you figure out, like, what is it that I really love? What am I passionate about? Who do I love? What things do I love? What do I want to be around? Dude, I mean, sure, I don't subscribe to that do what you love and you never work a day in your life, because there's going to be times that
it's all work.
It's still work. Like, right? I love the saying, because I think we're two embodiments of the closest thing that can get there, right? You walk in here, I mean, you can't, this building, you got to get to 68 Tonawanda Street. Where let's get this place inundated. Let's just get like a line down the street, and same with the main street, and then their Brooklyn, New York location. But it's just incredible how you can take Hatchets and Hops and take community, intentionality, passion, entrepreneurship, and of course team bonding. It's the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing.
It's I don't know. It's, I think about it, like, I think going to your statement about do what you love. And I think I like to spend time in the bar on the weekends just to kind of sit back and watch, because it's like you put a lot of work in, and it doesn't always seem fun, but when you see pure joy and you're able to, like, weirdly be like, we provided that to that person.
Catalyzed it.
It makes everything worth it.
You catalyzed it.
I think it's why I think it's so important to, regardless of what business you're in or what area of you work in, it's like the experience is everything, whether it's internally or external. Everyone has a customer. Your customer may be another internal person. I don't know, depending on what your business is, but give them a good experience. Every touch point that they encounter should be of high quality, and they are going to remember that experience. And obviously, it's from an economic standpoint, people are generally more willing to pay for a high quality experience. One of the things that I've always told, I deal with this challenge a lot with my managers as we're managing costs and looking at, the P&L and stuff. And it's like, I will never cut costs at the expense of experience.
Kudos.
Never do it, because you can't make that back up. You can't
dilute it.
Yeah. Once you do that, and once you gave that to a customer,
once you stop them from doing it again,
then you're chasing that game.
Lost them.
Yeah, and they're not going to come back. There was a number of places I remember going to during the pandemic, and you could tell they were just trying their best, but the experience was so watered down that it's like, I don't know if I could go back there.
It's an attention economy we live in, right? Yeah. You can only have so much time to interrupt. You only have so much time that you can spend going other places, doing other things outside of what is, providing for your family and making a meaningful life. So at the end of the day, man, we live in a huge attention economy. So what are you doing to differentiate? What are you doing to stick out? More takeaways for the listeners and watchers. Ask yourself that, because I certainly know the things you're doing to stand out, and not just you, but of course your brand, your team, the ethos.
Oh, it really is a team. I mean, especially at you mentioned having the 3 locations now. Yeah. That was a whole new level of learning experience for me. Is that, how do I ensure that level of care to experience is happening without me being there anymore?
100%.
And I think I focus a little bit on my leadership style into being a little more of like a Socratic leadership. And I try to build boundaries, but not rules. Right. I want you to operate within these lanes, because that ownership and that feeling, and if they truly believe in the why and what we do, they're going to make good decisions. But it's a lot more investment, and that's not going to get you a quick turnaround. It's a lot more work. You got to put that time in, but it pays off tremendously in the long run.
Patience is power, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's a cliche, but it's true. I mean, there's so much gold here. And this won't be the last. Maybe we throw one in one day as an update. Or we talked about doing kind of like a throwing podcast, but we'll have to work out the
I always had this. I had this long running saying that we used to do internally when we're stuck with a problem. It's stop thinking and start throwing. So sometimes when you're just stuck in a moment, or you just want to kind of get out of your own head, you throw some axes, and that's when some great things come to mind, and maybe that's even, an even way from a team bonding standpoint. You guys stuck on a problem internally, get out of it, go do something. So that's going to bring out that idea that you can only stare at a computer so long, or you're sitting in a conference room so long fighting over a problem. Right. Get away from it. Right. Then the answers will present itself.
So many golden nuggets to take away here. I can't wait to write the show notes up for this. And I mean, there's so much more to say. I think what I'll do though is we'll almost adjourn here, but let's do two more things. The first thing is, where do we find you? Literally, physically, right? Online. Where can we go to find you?
Anywhere. hatchetsandhops.com has the ability to book for all our locations. Good. Obviously, that same handle across the board. So you want to check us out, see a little bit more in depth visually what we're going to do. Obviously, there's an Instagram that seems to be pretty much though. We got a pretty crazy TikTok right now. It's run entirely by my Brooklyn team.
Wow.
So they have a good time. So you want something interesting, go check that out. There are a bunch of, everyone down there is pretty much all actors, comedians, entertainers doing this for fun. And so they're having a blast doing the TikTok. And I was like, let them go. And so.
Very cool. So you heard it here. Obviously hop on the old Google there and throw Hatchets and Hops in there. We'll put it in the show notes too. My last though, and I don't want to put you on the spot, so hopefully you'll have something. But my favorite thing to say is what keeps you going. My favorite thing to say is keep going, right? That's on my wrist here. It's part of my ethos. What if you had to nail down one thing that comes top of mind? What keeps you going, brother? There's no right or wrong answer, and I'm sure there's several.
Obviously, I think it's just the opportunity to kind of do the unexpected, to constantly challenge myself and provide new experiences for people. Obviously, have family and stuff that is motivational for me as well. I want to live in that manner where my children will look up to me and say that, he didn't play it safe. He took risks, but believed in what he did. And I think that's, for me, that's a big thing is you got to believe it. You got to believe, you got to believe in the message you're selling to people.
All day. And that's where passion comes in, and you certainly have a lot of that.
And I don't know. I think it's that just excitement to constantly, I don't sit still very well.
Me either.
So if there isn't something I'm working on, I'm probably going crazy. So it's, that was a weird thing that I kind of had to reflect a lot on the pandemic. I hate having to constantly go back to it, but it was such a transformational time of life where you could have learned so much about yourself. And that was a moment where I realized how big of a difference productive and unproductive stress is. I thrive off productive stress.
Healthy level of cortisol. I was talking about before we started shooting.
Yeah, love it. But unproductive where I feel my hands are tied, that's tough. So I kind of seek that stress a little bit, at least the productive stuff, to keep me kind of the problem solving and then inspiring others. I mean, I think, like I said, with the way I try to lead people is have them think for themselves, make decisions, deliberate decisions. I
say that one more time. That was so good. You said something about make deliberate decisions.
Make deliberate decisions. Yeah.
That's
that's almost what. So when I try to train my managers or train the people that I work with or inspire the people that are around me, that's kind of the same idea that I always go with, is that I want you to have a why. Why did you make it? I don't care if it's right or wrong, but if you're deliberate about your decision, we can learn from it. Because then you can marker was it successful or unsuccessful.
But if it's like a blah, whatever, I just did whatever, picked it out of a hat, then you can't learn from that.
No.
It's just chance.
Yeah. And then there's no growth. And I think fostering that environment is so important, where it's like, I don't care if you make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes over my life. And that's part of why this is fun.
Be a failure fanatic, brother.
Yeah. But giving people that opportunity, everyone always says that, like, oh yeah, I let my team fail, but they don't. They watch them on their close thumb. But it's like actually truly giving them the space to make decisions and deal with it, good or bad. Right. We can praise those good decisions and we can learn from the bad ones, but that's how we grow.
Talk about the mistake, not the person who made it, right? That's what you address. You don't say, oh, you screwed up, you did it again, whatever. Let's talk about that. Why did you make the decision? Let's talk about the problem. Let's remove problem from person. Oh,
yep.
Man.
Absolutely.
Person. That's cool there too, man. Yeah. We got all sorts of goals. I'm actually concluding it.
We'll have a whole t-shirt line now. Just one-liners.
Passionate, not perfunctory. I mean, stop thinking, start throwing. I mean, the list goes on. So, I think that about does it. So gratitude as always to you, brother, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's worth the wait. That's happened now on several podcasts of mine lately, where it was like we wanted to do it months ago, and it just didn't make sense at the time, or wasn't possible. And here we are. This made sense to me. So I'm grateful for the experience, and I'm glad that we built our bond. even further. So playing off of what we talked about. So of course, more gratitude to vidwheel Creator Network, how I always end our shows. Thank you for the support, Neil and team, my podcasting crew and video content gurus. So we will see you on the next segment. And AP, baby, you the man. Thanks, brother. This was fun. And we'll see you on the next segment. Thanks, everyone. Dude, you're dialed in, baby. Let's go. That was